So last week, the Chicago Bears agreed to terms with one Andrew Gregory Dalton. And it was immediately regarded by the Bears fans as the ultimate blast to their package. And I get it. I mean, you're supposedly out here trying to run down Russell Wilson, and you signed Andy Dalton. Actually, to be more accurate about it, you end up with Andy Dalton, because I still refuse to believe that anybody sets out to sign Andy Dalton. That's just something that happens. Then came the next level of rage for Bears fans, and that was when Dalton met with the media last Thursday and said the following. All right, so you hear Dalton. He said that point blank. They told me that I was the starter, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to come here. The Bears fans heard that. The Bears fans did not like that. They took great offense to that. Like, you've already guaranteed this guy a job. There's not even going to be a quarterback competition. And then there was the rationalization stage for Bears fans. Maybe they heard it wrong, or maybe Dalton heard it wrong, or maybe the Bears never said that to him, or maybe this guy was just trying to make some crazy power grab in his presser and he overstepped. Maybe it was all one big mistake. I mean, as crappy as their quarterback situation is, there's no way you end up with Andy Dalton and not make him earn the starting job, right? Well, then, yesterday, a tweet from the Bears' official Twitter account. The tweet had one photoshopped image and nearly the shortest caption possible. It's a Photoshop of Andy Dalton in a number 14 Bears jersey about to rip a pass, and the caption reads simply, QB1. QB1, period. What? Who? Why? I mean, at this point, the Bears are just trolling, right? They're trolling all of us at this point. They're just trying to get some social media reaction. The Twitter account has gone heel and is just trying to aggravate their own fans now, right? Why else would you do something like that? For who? For what? I mean, the attitude of the post is so out of touch. It is so out of touch. It's amazing, because that's not just them saying that this is our starting quarterback, who we're naming in March for some reason when we don't have to. But what they're saying in effect is, yo, we got him and you don't. Like, hey, losers, scoreboard, we've got Andy Dalton and you don't. All you other teams that were coming so hard for this guy, we got him. He's ours. And you know you wanted that guy. You know you wanted him badly, just as we knew that we were the ones that were going to win the Dalton sweepstakes, because we're the Chicago Bears, bitches, and you're not. Tell me how my bleep tastes. I mean, that's kind of the way they're flexing, right? Like, I don't get any part of this. I don't get bringing the guy in the first place, and I don't get naming him the starter in March, and I don't get why you'd rush to post that on social media either. As a reminder of how these things work, this is an organized project. There had to be a meeting where there was a discussion and then approval, and somebody was assigned the project of doing a Photoshop of Andy Dalton in a Bears jersey, because that's a pretty solid Photoshop job. And the photo has him playing on a field with the Bears signage on the wall behind him. So either they chose a photo from a game that he played in Soldier Field, or they shopped the wall behind him. That was not something that somebody half-assed. No, they whole-assed this thing. And they had to know how that was going to be received, right, by the Bears fans. They had to know how that was going to be received by the Bears fans, which is to say, terribly. Here are a few of the responses, and they're absolute gold. Holy bleep, delete this now. That's the first one. Holy bleep, delete this now. Another response, and I quote, delete this right now. This is actually embarrassing. Here's another one, and I quote, I'm sure the guy in charge of social media marketing has no say in who the Bears have as quarterback. But Jesus Christ, it's like we're boasting that we have Andy bleeping Dalton. Are you bleeping kidding me? In all caps. a JC blast, and are you bleeping kidding me? It's like we're boasting that we have Andy bleeping Dalton, which is exactly my point. And how did they not know that that was going to be the response? I mean, I could keep going and going, but I'll stop right there. How could a team be so out of touch and so disconnected to its own fan base? How could they not know that they were going to get absolutely shredded, not just by me, but by their own fans for that post? So, why would you do something like that? Why would you declare that this guy is your starter in March? And then why would you post it on social media? I mean, if you brought in Russell Wilson and you made that deal, sure, you couldn't get that up fast enough. I could totally see why you'd want the social media team to Photoshop Russ in a Bears number 3 jersey and get it out there with a QB1 caption as quickly as possible. Then the Bears fans would retweet the hell out of that and share the hell out of that. But Andy Dalton, I mean, wouldn't you be doing everything in your power to make sure that nobody finds out that you're starting quarterback? The first thing you're going to tweet, I mean, come on, that should be the last thing that you're tweeting. Whatever moron came up with that idea should have been fired on the spot. Where was the one person in the room to remind everybody the bleeping internet is in ink? Once it's out there, there's no getting it back. And the one thing you really don't want out there is people knowing that Andy Dalton is our starting quarterback. Or even worse, that they just gave him the gig and he didn't even have to beat anybody out to get it. Like, why are you picking a fight with your own fan base? Why are you antagonizing the very people who are paying good money to see the crap that you run out to the field every Sunday? Again, for who? For what? And by the way, how are you feeling if you're Nick Foles right about now? You want to talk about a kick in the junk. They run Mitchell Trubisky, understandably. They bring in Andy Dalton. You're thinking to yourself, man, that's jacked up. I have to win another quarterback competition? Hell, who cares? It's just Dalton, only to find out there's not even going to be a competition. They just gave the gig to that guy. And then they're rubbing it in my face by rushing to social media to tell everybody what they did. No competition, no battle for the job, didn't even wait to see how the guy looks with the rest of the offense, just made him the starter. For no reason. Like nobody's putting a gun to anybody's head. The Bears and the Bears social media account just did this on their own. You know, and can I tell you one more thing? It's not even Andy Dalton's fault. It's not Andy Dalton's fault that he's Andy Dalton. He's a good dude. At one time, he was a pretty good quarterback. He's not the one who brought himself in, named himself the starter 4 months before camp, and then rushed to social to brag on it. He didn't do any of that. The Bears did. And that's why they're the Bears, and always will be.